The Bolsa Chica wetlands that the public is familiar with is not changing, but the 1,000 acres inland of the ecological reserve is being transformed from an oil field into a full-tidal wetland with a new ocean inlet. The public access trails have had to be closed in order to protect the public from the heavy construction. Now that 64 oil wells have been capped and about 200,000 linear feet of pipeline removed, the heavy work of restoring Bolsa Chica has begun, with Kiewit Pacific Company, our construction contractor, and Moffitt Nickel, our construction management company, moving on to the site and beginning the heavy work. The heavy work begins with clearing and grubbing, removing the vegetation and surface debris to allow grading of the underlying soil. A problem at Bolsa Chica is the high groundwater level makes operation of heavy equipment difficult. Therefore, efforts are underway to try to dewater the site with a series of ditches, pipelines, and pumps, as well as a well system in selected work areas to try to reduce the groundwater level so that heavy equipment can work to remove the surface contamination areas and the fine muck that has to be removed from the work area. The excavated soil, including some slightly contaminated material, is then placed in the core of a nest site or a levee and compacted so that it will stay there for a very long time. The excavated soil, including some slightly contaminated material, is then placed in the core of a nest site or a levee and compacted so that it will stay there for a very long time. To achieve the compaction standards, this wet, muddy soil has to be tilled and allowed to dry out and then compacted. The project's single entrance road must be shared with the company operating the oil field, Era Energy. Pacific Coast Highway must also be detoured in order to construct the bridge that will pass over the inlet. The PCH detour is in a corridor between a row of oil wells and the Pacific Coast Highway roadbed. The detour begins operation in late December 2004 and probably is in place for about 10 months. During this winter, the excavation of contaminated material will be completed and the levees and nest sites will be constructed. Rock and bridge pilings will be brought into the site for bank protection and constructing of the bridges. The groundwater barrier will also be completed before the dredge is brought in to complete the excavation late next year.